Don't open the door, I whisper into the recorder. If it says your name from the dark, do not answer. If it sounds like me, lock your jaw. Outside the ranger station, something knocks 3 times, the sound moving left to right like knuckles sliding along the skin of the night. The generator hum stutters. Rain freckles the glass. I press record. The porch light flickers and a shape waits just beyond its bruise of yellow. Dispatch, it says in my voice through the wood. You there? I am. I am here, alone at Tower 13, cataloging what no one believes until they hear it themselves. 12 cases. 12 voices. If you're listening after I'm gone, play them in order. You'll hear it outside first. First was the second whistle. 2 hikers in late October had a signal, 1 whistle to regroup, 2 to run to the truck. They split along the creek to follow tracks that looked like deer, only wrong, a little too long in the heel. 20 minutes later, Drew heard 2 whistles, sharp, his partner's exact aluminum P call, perfect pitch. He ran. The creek white noised him blind, the hollows carried echoes like wires. He kept hearing 2, 2, 2. The truck never appeared. The sound kept pace off his left shoulder, never closer, never farther, breath skimming water, 2 notes bent each time like a smile. When he stopped and called, Ryan, the creek repeated, Ryan, but the question mark came from the pines. At dawn he found a whistle tied to a branch at his mouth's height. The generator coughs again. The porch light browns, returns. Outside, the thing clears its throat the way I do when the drip catches. I write down the time anyway, because names and minutes are the only fences we have, and the night keeps learning how to climb. Second was June's baby cry, up on Section Road where the switchbacks keep folding you into your tail. She idled at 2 a.m., window cracked to bleed out the cigarette. The cry came thin and perfect from the ditch, 3 soft sobs, a pause like held breath, then 3 more. She killed the radio, killed the engine, and the dark climbed in without borders. Hello, she called, and the sobs snapped off like a finger lifted from a record. Something rolled in the fern, not forward, sideways, like a man shouldering a dresser. You hurt? June asked. Mama, said her own voice from the ditch. The sobbing restarted, too regular, metronomed by something that didn't need air. At the shop next day, they pulled 3 rope-colored hairs from her hitch. Something taps the glass once, enough to scatter the moths. I try to remember my wife's real voice, to pin it to a hospital corridor, a Christmas morning, anywhere fixed. In the headset, static crawls like ants. Outside, it learns not to step on gravel. It teaches my surname to the keyhole until metal sings. Third was Sarah's name. A bowhunter heard his wife calling from the clearcut just before dawn. Not panicked, fond. Babe? You forget your lunch again. He smiled in the blind. That was her weekday joke. He'd left her sleeping miles away. Babe, I'm over here. The voice was exactly wrong and exactly right, her tease, but worked through a throat that didn't remember spit. He watched grass cleave in 2 lines as if someone walked on invisible crutches. When he packed to leave, his thermos sat unscrewed, lid rested upside down, steam kissed out. On the path home, arrowheads hung point down from fishing line looped in branches, every length cut to fall at eye level, each ticking bark in the breeze, a metal rain in a mouth that wanted to speak. At camp a smiley face of pebbles grinned beside his boots, 2 wide by half. Fourth was Garrett and the dog. You tune out coyotes that sound like women, the woods teach you that. Garrett heard a bark instead, the exact cough bark his old shepherd gave on bad hips. The dog had been buried 3 months under a maple. The bark came from the creek where stones clack like teeth. He took a lantern. How? He asked the dark. How'd you get out? The creek gave him his own, how, back, rolled flat. Paw prints in silt, 6 toes. Claws too long. They ended at a smooth boulder, as if stepping into a mirror. Wind shook the alders and something thumped logs in gentle hello. He kissed the maple and said sorry out loud, and no one asked why. Fifth was Tower 7. On graveyard, you work alone, coffee like battery acid, radio like a prayer. The operator on duty heard me in his headset, but I was off that night. I still don't know how it stole my timing, my breath breaks, the little jokes I think are mine alone. Copy, it said. I'm coming up. Latticed steel stairs sing when something heavy climbs. He heard nothing. Knocking began one level down, once, twice. A minute. Once, twice. Closer. He looked over the rail. Empty cage. The radio hissed and said, "Don't look down." He ran for the hatch and found it latched from outside with baling wire he didn't own, tied in a knot he hadn't used since Boy Scouts. He kept the light off and listened to someone practice breathing beneath him until dawn. Sixth was Camp 19. Nylon walls thin as kitchen wrap. The parents heard their daughter whisper count 7, 8, 9, 10, from outside the tent. Their daughter was inside between them, sweaty hair on Mom's arm. The zipper tested itself a half-inch. Then down. Then up. Patient. Learning. "I see you," said the daughter's voice by the cooler. The thing sat with its spine against their pole and exhaled for minutes. At dawn the cooler lid was off and every grape skin sucked empty, arranged in a ring around the door. On my porch, it hums her song, too slow, learning my name. Seventh was Channel 7. Rangers don't use it, the old guys say it talks back. That night, Mark swore he heard 3 of us on it, me, him, and something clipping syllables like it was tasting them. Tower 13, copy, came my voice, half a beat behind his. Then, softer, like a cheek next to the mic, opened the west door. He clicked transmit and didn't speak. The recording we pulled later had 2 breaths on his channel, one that misted the mic and one that didn't. Outside my station now, a breath fogs the pain from no lungs at all. It knows the pauses I leave when I lie. Eighth was mile marker 0. A trucker took the frontage road after a jackknife closed the highway. 2 a.m., sodium lamps hissing, night pressed flat as a map. Something knocked from inside his trailer, 3 evenly spaced hits in the rhythm he used to call his boy for dinner. He pulled to the shoulder and lifted the latch. His own voice said, "Buddy, can you give me a hand," from the dark cavity. He said later it felt like a question it had practiced for weeks. On the corrugate, prints the size of canoe paddles coated in road dust sloped wrong, heel where the toes should live. Ninth was winter breathing. Up near Treeline, a snowshoer herd helped down in a drift hole blue as a bruise. He lay on his belly and shouted, "Hold on," and the snow shouted, "Hold on," back with his vowels pinched thin. He dug until his gloves bled through. No one was in the hole. At the lip, he found the cherry of his own cigarette burned into the cornice like a dot on an eye. Across my porch now, snow isn't falling, but I hear it shift on the roof like a shoulder settling. 10th was the farmhouse window. A widower couldn't sleep, so he left the TV on low and the back door latched with a broom. At 3, his wife's laugh came from the sink. It was the quick one he only ever got when she burned toast. "Don't make me come get you," she said sweet in the tile, and every pan on the rack swayed an inch. He kept the lights off and stared at his reflection in the dark glass. Another face stood over his shoulder in the window, not hers, not his, longer where a human is short. He said it breathed like a train easing into a station and bent the broom with 2 fingers when it tried the latch. 11th was the mirror call. A teenager snuck out, her sister stayed in bed. At 1, Mom's number flashed both phones. The sister answered and heard her own whisper, "Can you open the garage quietly?" The teen, outside, swore she heard, "Yeah," from the upstairs hall and saw her sister's shadow on the landing in the light from the fish tank. But the sister was in bed with the phone to her ear, listening to her own breath double on the line. "Here, my phone sits dead, but my landline rings once anyway, the antique brass bell under the map giving a single cough. It's my wife's ringtone, the one she hated, the cheerful chirp, years out of date. "Dispatch," says my voice at the door, tender now. "You up?" "You always were." 12th is me. Tower 13, inventory, 1 desk, 1 locker, 1 coffee can of keys, 1 halogen bulb screaming in its throat. 1 tape machine I shouldn't keep, an old Marantz with a fickle meter and a record button that sticks like honey. I have been feeding it voices all year. The hikers, the trucker, the widower, the laughing sink, the breath that didn't fog. I tell myself I'm building a case file. But the tape also feeds me back. Sometimes at night it plays without the capstan turning. It clicks and my own voice emerges, shy at first, like a childhood tooth pushed with a tongue. It knows when I lie about being fine. It knows her nickname for me, it uses it soft enough to bruise. Outside, the thing drags a single nail across the grain of the door and the wood answers like a low violin. "Please," it says, and I hate how much of me is in that word. I tell the recorder what I should tell you, who will find this: don't open, don't speak, don't teach it the last thing only you and yours would know. My father's old rule: a door keeps out what needs an invitation. The handle turns anyway, a test, twice, then stops, polite. I think of the circle of grapes at Camp 19, the arrow in the dirt, the smile of stones. Patterns are requests. I break mine. I turn off the light. In the black, the station becomes a throat and I am a swallowed thing. The generator coughs and dies and the hum goes with it. The only sound left is breath at the seam where door meets frame. "Hey," says my wife, the way she did from a hospital bed when she wanted to pretend it wasn't pain. "Do you remember the grapes," she asks through the wood, "how you peeled them for me when I couldn't swallow skins?" I had never told that to anyone. The tape clicks on without my hand. In the dark, the reels don't move. But my voice speaks anyway, old and tired and sorry. "Open the west door," it tells me, kind, like mercy. I think of Mark and the 2 breaths. I think of the breaths now, one on the glass, one behind my teeth. The knob turns a final quarter, and something bows the door like a lung testing itself. "Dispatch," it says in my exact warmth. I'm cold. I am both men, the one who knows the rule and the one who wants to be kind. The lock turns. My voice breathes from the recorder.